Okay, good day. I'm Alessio, and today I'm here with Julie Cook.
Hi everyone. I'm an anthropologist by trade, and I've been working in the technology field now since 1999. So that shows my age. I did 2 years of an IT degree where I repeatedly failed my Java programming subject, and so I dropped out and went into social sciences. In that time as well, there was the internet boom happening. I ended up actually designing lots of websites because at the very least I knew how to program in HTML if I couldn't get my head around Java programming. And so I taught myself how to design, and from there over the next 4 to 6 years, I went on to become an art director in an advertising agency. I learned to design logos, but I have to say that I realized that I was never really as clever or as creative as people that were just purely designers. And there's something to be said for that level of aesthetic sophistication that most designers do have. Some don't, but mostly they do. It's an inborn talent. From then, I went back to university and did my Master of Anthropology, which was probably the best thing that I ever did. I always encourage you to continue your education continuously. It expands your mind, it makes you grow as a person, and it makes your life a richer, more fulfilling version if you didn't do it. That was the case for me. It's not the case for everyone. Some people enjoy going and climbing mountains and going to base camp, but they're a different breed. The kind of breed that I am, I enjoy studying. So I'm back at uni doing my Master of Engineering after I finished my prereq subjects for that. So learning has always been a continuous thing. And I believe now in the work sector as well, that is something that's highly prized. Somebody who can learn on their own and has a thirst for knowledge and a certain level of curiosity. Talk about two of the best places that I've worked. So I've worked across the creative industries and I've worked in technology, particularly with what we call the big technology integrators. So the likes of IBM. And I've worked in management consulting, which is probably where I feel the most level of comfort in my professional life. I've worked at Deloitte and Boston Consulting Group. Most of my projects though have been based around bringing in the user experience in all its variety, shape and facets into the corporate products that get pushed out into the marketplace. So we are talking about strategy that's humanized. We're talking about technology that's humanized. We're talking about products that are designed. We're talking about processes that are made better so people can do their job more efficiently and with less. So design goes through the whole facet of it. So when you first start in design, it's more of an aesthetic exercise for most people. And that has evolved into service design, into strategic design, and a lot of other ways that it's been incorporated, especially at an enterprise level, into business design, which is probably one of my favorite areas. So design gives you this platform from which you can go into a lot of areas. The same with technology, I guess. And that's why they mesh together so well, because both of them have that wide view angle, but they can also go down into... Now at IBM, my role there was as a customer experience strategist, and I worked really closely with the artificial intelligence team, Watson, and the Watson team, which was really around bringing in a lot of things that we don't think about designing, like chatbot design. How do you design conversations so it sounds more human? How do you design visually so that the bots can read it well? And I know Alessio probably has a lot more technical knowledge than I know. But we were also thinking about, reducing, I guess, failure rates in systems. So how do you train something from being a baby AI into a fully grown adult AI, as I like to call it? Cool. And these are all design exercises, right? Because you design a project, you design an enterprise. you design. Design is permeated into all of our lives. So it's a matter of finding out where your passion is and just connecting the dots along the way, and they're never in a straight linear fashion. So being an anthropologist, we have this thing called ethnographic research. Now, ethnographic research is watered down when you're using it in design thinking into contextual interviews, user observation. But ethnographic research actually has a lot of rigor around it. It's not just around studying just people, but it's about studying how people interact with their environment, what their background is, but it's also involved with how are you as the researcher responding to this. So that's that multi-dimensional view. So trying to create as an unbiased, but also recognizing at the same time that there is a bias view, because you, as the observer, as the engager, as the person who brings, is part of that power relations, as we call it in anthropology, is bringing your own very specific lens to the project. So that has an impact on how you understand it and then how you communicate that. Now, as part of ethnographic research can be, you can spend days with customers, going to their homes, videotaping them, having conversations with them. You could do it remotely by having a video installed and snooping on people. Of course, you wouldn't call it snooping while you're doing it. And it's about, in my line of work, for example, when I worked at BHP, I went to mine sites in very remote areas. And while it sounds glamorous and exciting, and it is at the end when you're collating your research and you come up with insights and you have your aha moments, but at the same time, it can be very boring. Going to a mine site in the middle of nowhere, 1,300 kilometers north of Perth, was an experience. It was very exciting because I wanted to go to these places, but it's very remote. I guess at night time you get to see all the stars. But at the same time, it's about sitting there with someone who's doing the management for the mine around their processing, and they have literally got 10 screens in front of them with different graphs that are really badly designed going around, and you're just sitting there going, I don't understand what I'm doing, but you just push through, because ambiguity is a really big part of being a design researcher and trying to make better processes. But also ethnographic research is also, I've worked with factories, for example, where I've followed literally a package or a product being made on, what do you call those roller things? Where the product goes through actually this process in the factory getting built as it goes along. So again, it is exciting. What are they called?
I'm not sure.
You've gone blank as well, right? I've gone blank.
Like conveyor belts, but...
Conveyor belts, yeah. They literally, it's a product that goes through a manufacturing process, and you are there to see how people engage with this activity. That is also an ethnographic. So when we're talking about contextual interviews are very limited in some way. They're really around you sitting there and someone telling you this is what I do. And I can bet my bottom dollar that what people say they do is very different to actually what they do. So they did some research, for example, around, they asked people how many times, they brush their teeth every day. And a lot of people said, I brush my teeth in the morning and I brush my teeth at nighttime. And guess what? When the researchers installed cameras, they weren't even there. They installed cameras to observe, how often people would brush their teeth. Most people, 79% of people brush their teeth once a day. But they thought that they brushed their teeth twice a day. So this is why it's such a valuable tool. But there's also a lot of politicking around getting time, access to time, people's time to do this, because everyone's got their role in their job. So as a researcher, when you're going in, you have to be really careful and considerate of how much time you're taking up. What are you doing? What are the benefits of it? As a designer, you should always be able to communicate the value of the work that you do in business terms. I highly recommend, and having been a designer myself, having been a lecturer at university, I know there's this aversion to not reading, but reading and reading widely is one of your best tools that you would ever have in your toolkit, because it gives you that wider view to be able to communicate to business people, to people you're engaging with who might not have any sort of background similar to yours. Being able to have that communication is huge.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I guess I'll ask you one last thing. Can you give us a digest of why there's a big green button on the photocopy machines?
I think that's been debunked. Actually, I read an article saying that was not the process. But I guess even now, when you go to some the cheaper photocopiers, for example, they don't have the green button, right? The big green button is there really because it says go. You know, you see green button, mentally you think, I've got to press this. You see a red button, you're like, oh, maybe I should think about this. They've even made a movie about getting a box with a red button on it, haven't they?
Sure. I just wanted to hear from you because since you told me the first time, I actually started using it as my prime example. I just wanted to have you on tape.
Okay, so and it has been debunked, but I think there's still some truth to it because there were some other journal articles that I read from many years ago, and my research professor when I was doing my master's degree, she was from she was one of these really well-known universities in the US, which I've gone blank and I can't remember which one it was. It's in California.
Okay. Oh, yeah. California, it's Stanford.
Stanford, yes. So she did her PhD at Stanford, and so some of the papers were actually that she distributed to us from different journals, anthropology journals, technology. They actually had referenced this, and it's mainly around making it very easy for users to do their tasks. We call this, part of what goes into that is called task analysis. So it's actually understanding what are people's mental models, how do they think. So you try and simplify things for them. So if you've got buttons that all look the same and somebody has to spend time reading it, they're going to give up or they're going to keep pressing different buttons. It's just what people do. People get frustrated when they can't get from A to B quickly.
And you don't want people lining up at the photocopy machine.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for including me. I hope you, Alessio is one of the best lecturers I've ever had.
Okay, thank you.